Okay, so next we're going to have the panel discussion, and Joe will be our moderators today. So Joe, you start with introducing our speakers.
All right. Thank you for coming, and we have a very exciting panel here. We have Lisa Gilmore, the mayor of Santa Clara, and we have Lily May, mayor of Fremont, Ken Fong, the founder and chair of Kenson Ventures, and Jay Chan, the candidate for U.S. Congress, District 45.
45, yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask them the same question, okay? The question is, after the pandemic, the anti-Asian hate seemed to have crescendoed. We have increased to an amount that is almost unbearable. And as mayor, as running for Congress, as a civic leader, what do you think about the situation, and what will you do about it when you are re-elected, elected? So the same question, we'll start with Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm very honored to be sitting with this panel and everyone in this room. I have to say, I can't get that tune out of my head. Since I heard it at Lily May's event about a couple months ago, I've been singing around the house. My husband thinks I'm nuts, but I love it. So thank you. That is the most inspiring video. I think it's just fantastic. He did give us the questions ahead of time, so I have some cheat sheets if that's okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about what Santa Clara's done, what I've done, and what we plan for the future. So since the COVID-19 outbreak in March of 2020, harmful and xenophobic related to the geographic origins of the disease resulted in a rise in violence and hate crimes against Asian American and Pacific Islander individuals, communities, and businesses throughout California and even throughout our city of Santa Clara. This hateful rhetoric really further exasperated racism, prejudice, and discrimination. What we did in the city of Santa Clara, we immediately adopted a resolution affirming our city's commitment to stand against and condemn violence and hate crimes against our Asian American and Pacific Islander brothers and sisters. And you'll see a theme through my little speech here. It's all about communication and standing up for members of our community. We took that very seriously. But when we did that, many brave residents who had been quiet before began to speak up about some of their experiences. I heard stories of harassment, intimidation, and violence. And let me tell you, it really shook me to the core. It really did. I hadn't heard these stories before. So let me tell you, over 44% of our population in the city of Santa Clara identifies as Asian American or Pacific Islander. So it's huge, and it's a major force, and it's a major voting force as well. So we'll talk about that too. It appeared to me we were not only suffering a health crisis, but we were also suffering a human rights crisis at the same time. It was really eye-opening for a lot of us. But bringing visibility to the issue was critical for us, and as a community, we needed to let everyone know where we stood. About 10 years earlier, I think we were kind of ahead of times, we had our first LGBTQ plus member of our Santa Clara City Council, and I helped her create an ordinance against discrimination based on race, creed, color, national origin, ancestry, gender, religion, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity. And so what happened then, this was back in 2012, it really gave us a value base on which we govern, and it helped us to enforce against these hateful crimes, hateful rhetoric, and hateful acts against our Asian brothers and sisters. But it really wasn't enough to ease the fear in our community. It's a real fear, and it's still there. It's a real fear. I then work with community members to create our task force on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's a very diverse task force. And our task force was formed to engage the local community in open dialogue, to help our city take future actions to achieve social equity by working to ensure that all Santa Clarans have access to equal quality of life and equal access to opportunity. We also, this task force is taking a good look at our police department and how our police department, to make sure our community is receiving fair and equal treatment. And our communities of color are being protected from these hate crimes. In Santa Clara, we're the only city in the state of California that has an elected police chief. So our elected police chief embraced this with open arms to do that, and I'm not sure in other communities that would happen, but it did in Santa Clara. So when I'm reelected, because I'm confident I'm going to be reelected, crossing my fingers. Okay. When I'm reelected, we will commence our in-person sessions to give our community the opportunity to let our task force listen to a diverse range of input to help us shape for the future. And the only reason we did this is when I created the task force, I allowed it to be very independent of the city council, independent of city staff, the police department, everyone else. So we want to make sure our community feels safe, that they can come to a place that's supportive and they can tell their stories, and then we can make a difference based upon the recommendations. But by working together in our city and standing in solidarity with our Asian American and Pacific Islander brothers and sisters, we can work towards a more just and compassionate society. And I think this music video is a perfect bridge to connect all of us and remind us that we all belong here. We all do. And I'm so proud and honored to be part of this collaborative effort by all of you. So thank you very much for inviting me here today. Thank you.
Thank you.